Hi, I'm Tom Peterson. I'm the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, and today we're here on my farm near Pine City, just in Pine County, Minnesota. This farm I've been on for about 20 years. I've had bigger farms. This farm happens to be more of a hobby farm, but we have a lot of diverse and interesting things happening here. We really focus on our horses here, but over my time we've had goats and cows and other types of agriculture here. And so I'm really glad today to be able to talk about the importance of habitat for pollinators. Building a healthy pollinator habitat helps our whole ecosystem and really helps our crops across the state, especially our specialty crop industry in Minnesota. Things that we can do and add habitat across our farms, as I've done in our farm with adding different wildflower mixes, setting aside more land. There's a lot of different steps that we're able to take here on our farm and other areas around me to help build our pollinator habitat. Today we're pleased to have Dan and Elaine from the University of Minnesota Entomology and Bee Lab to kind of walk through the farm and look at some of the habitat and help talk to us about some of the different things that they see here on our farm.
Agricultural lands are an area that can be really important for pollinators. People may think of native bees, they may think of them being in these restored, beautiful prairies, and that's true, but they're also pretty much everywhere. That's one of the amazing things about pollinators is you can put habitat for them just about anywhere, and there will be pollinators there that will use it and benefit from it. So these agricultural lands are really important. There's already a lot of beneficial habitats that are there, but they can also be enhanced to do even more for pollinators.
So pollinators face a number of different challenges. These include things like pathogens, as well as pesticides, and loss of habitat. And habitat is a really key thing. This is where the bees live, this is where they eat. And so if we can get good, healthy food and good landscapes back for our native bees, we can actually help with a lot of different challenges that these bees are facing.
When we talk about flowers, the first thing that comes to mind for most people are the kind of flowers that we plant in our gardens. But when bees and other pollinators are looking for flowers, they're just looking for any kind of flowering plant. So it's important to keep in mind that things like trees and shrubs, a lot of those are really important sources of pollen, especially pollen, also nectar for a wide variety of pollinators. If you have things that are blooming in an area and you're wondering how good they are for pollinators, one thing you can do is just go and spend some time looking at them to see not only if there are bees that are there, but to try to look for a variety of different kinds of bees. When you sit still and look at flowers for a minute, you'll start to notice smaller and smaller things that are flying from flower to flower. A lot of our native bees are really tiny and you don't notice them unless you really take the time. So just taking a minute to go by your flowers, you can see how much they're being used.
And in particular, a lot of those shrubs and trees, they bloom early in the spring, and that's a time when bumblebee queens are just getting going and there's a lot of really important spring bees.
Open habitat like this is great for providing places for bees to live. We talked a bit about what bees need for food, but in addition to food, bees also need places to make their homes. An open area like this can provide a lot of different kind of habitat. There's bees that will live, some of them need vegetation, some of them will go into the ground, others prefer a wooded area.
Some of the work we're starting to find is that some of these forests and trees are really, the edges we think might be really good bee nesting habitat. And so some of these kind of edges areas might actually be really beneficial for bees in terms of nesting.
So really having a variety of different habitats can help to provide those variety of needs that those bees have for making their homes.
So this is a great habitat here. This was once corn before, and it's been let go back to nature. And we see lots of really nice plants out in this habitat, such as goldenrods. We see milkweeds and things like that. So just by leaving this, we're creating a lot of great food and a lot of great habitat and nesting resources for pollinators. And if you wanted to go above and beyond that, there's a lot of great organizations that you could contact to put a native prairie into these habitats.
When you're looking at where in the landscape you want to put your pollinator habitat, one consideration is pesticides. So we want to reduce exposure to pesticides in pollinator habitat because some of those pesticides can be harmful to pollinators. Doing things like having a windrow, having trees or other shelter belts planted around the pollinator habitat can help to reduce the impact of that drift.
Thanks for the opportunity to visit about pollinators today and the importance of habitat across the state of Minnesota. There's so many things that farmers can and are doing across the state. One of the things that's really grabbed me as I travel the state as commissioner, visiting a farm, and a farmer will pull me aside and show me some of the practices that they've done, whether it's working something more with the NRCS and really putting in a big pollinator plot, or leaving some land set aside as I do here on my farm, that there's many different things that farmers can and are doing. And we also want people to know that there's many resources to help you to think through that as you're considering different ways that you can help increase our pollinator habitat across our state.